Franz Kafka, Chapter 7. The life of Franz Kafka was rather uneventful. Born in 1883 in Prague, Bohemia, then part of the Austrian Empire, the son of a prosperous merchant, he took a law degree in 1906. 2 years later, he accepted a position in the government-sponsored workers' accident insurance. In 1909, he published his first small pieces in literary periodicals and newspapers. His, quote, one desire and calling, close quote, being literature. His modest and rather sporadic success as a writer forced him to remain in his original position until he was retired because of his tuberculosis, from which he died at 41 in 1924. His father had no understanding of Franz's literary interests, and the unhappy relationship between the two was one of unrelieved tension. Franz Kafka dissolved his engagement to Miss F.B. A second friendship again did not lead to marriage. As in the case of Kierkegaard, this unhappy relationship with his father and fiancée had given rise to many psychological interpretations of the Freudian school. Kafka's friendship with Max Brod, his later biographer, and other artists in pre-war Prague enriched his otherwise melancholy and frustrated life. Brod did not execute Kafka's last will to destroy his manuscripts, but saved them for posterity. Their friendship dated back to 1902 when Brod discovered Kafka's literary gift and persuaded him to publish his first pieces. The Prague of 1910 to 1914, where Kafka had his first small successes, produced and attracted diverse talents. Here, Franz Werfel wrote his early stories and small plays. Hugo V. Hofmannsthal, Rilke, and others met in the twilight atmosphere of those years with Kafka, Brod, and their friends in literary cafes. The wealth of stimulation seemed to create a paradise for which Smetana's music furnished the sensational comfort. Nijinsky danced at the opera. The little group of literateurs, mostly Jewish, wrote, translated, and debated the future. One of them speaks later about Kafka's silent presence, his elusive smiles, and perennial melancholy. Some made a trip to Dresden, where G.B. Shaw was, Paul Claudel, and some members of the Russian nobility. Here they attended rare theatrical events. They read Kierkegaard, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, and Pascal. But apart from the unhappy official in the workers' insurance, they lived in aesthetic detachment from the steam of life to which millions of their Czech compatriots belonged. They felt at home in the realm of the arts for art's sake and did not, or perhaps could not, realize that Kierkegaard's condemnation of the aesthetic life would actually become part of the despair and tragedy into which ancient Prague, and especially its Jewish population, was to later be immersed. As Kafka's diary indicates, he was aware of the lack of any true foundation for life, of air, and of a guiding code of commandment. It was his fate not to be able to seize the quote-unquote last tip of the Jewish prayer shawl. As a youth, he felt critical about Jewish rituals and beliefs, and his later interest in Judaism, and including Zionism, remained fairly mild. He refers in like manner to his inability to guide, quote, like Kierkegaard, by the sinking hand of Christianity. History dwelt harshly with Prague. Perhaps it was only Kafka who had foreseen in his oppressive dreams what was to happen. The ordinary people, the petty officials, the strangers in the street who filled Kafka's stage with their mute presence rose to hate and crime in the Nazi movement. The masses everywhere dressed up in fantastic uniforms, such as they had worn in some of Kafka's tales 30 years earlier, and burned down synagogues, forcing yellow marks of ostracism or the Star of David on Jewish homes, clothes, and stores, while the voices of invisible speakers aroused these minor characters to monstrous, incredible deeds. No Christian group in modern history has suffered as much as the Jews under Hitler. And Kierkegaard's words, quote, to live as a Christian in this world means to suffer, close quote, may give us pause when we compare the martyrdom of Jews to the cruelty of their quote-unquote Christian persecutors. The persecution claimed victims from Kafka's own family. 3 of his sisters and several other relatives died in the Auschwitz extermination camp, and one of the few houses destroyed during the 1945 liberation of Prague was Kafka's parental home.